All right, let's get straight into the heat of the battle because the midnight tape has just delivered a set of numbers that confirms the endgame is no longer coming, it is here. Today, February 26, 2026, the global silver market has officially snapped. John A.G. has been tracking the registered vault levels for years, but what we witnessed in the last 6 hours of the overnight session is a total systemic failure that defies every rule of modern finance. While you were sleeping, the liquidity freeze we've been warning about moved from a threat to a physical reality. The New York paper price is now functionally decoupled from the world. We are looking at a system that has run out of gas, run out of metal, and run out of time. The midnight default at the clearinghouses is being covered up by system maintenance headlines, but the tape doesn't lie. The data hitting the terminal right now regarding the COMEX registered inventory is the most catastrophic set of numbers I have ever seen in the history of the exchange. We have officially dropped below the 80 million ounce floor, with a record-shattering 5 million ounces being moved into eligible status in a single overnight window. This means the owners of that metal have officially pulled their bars off the market. They are refusing to sell at any price offered by the paper exchange. John A.G. is looking at the delivery notices for the March contract, and the failure to deliver FTD rate has hit 45%. This isn't just a glitch, it is a legal declaration of insolvency. You cannot settle a physical demand with a digital promise when the vault is empty. The banks are cornered, and the exits have been welded shut by the physical reality of the shortage. Look at the divergence in the eastern markets as the Shanghai Gold Exchange opens its morning session. The premium over the London spot price has just exploded to a record $18.50 per ounce. We are seeing silver trade for an equivalent of $112 in China, while the Western screens are desperately trying to hold the line at $92. John A.G. calls this the vacuum effect, and today that vacuum has turned into a total atmospheric collapse for the West. Every single ounce of refined silver on the planet is now flowing directly into Eastern hands. The smart money has realized that the New York price is a ghost, a hallucination created by bank algorithms to protect their failing short positions. But the East is setting the real price, and they are doing it with physical delivery, not paper contracts. The Wednesday blackout disruptions have now evolved into a full-scale digital freeze within the Western clearing corridors. We have confirmed reports this morning that several major bullion banks have suspended their digital settlement platforms due to unexpected volume. John A.G. knows exactly what this means. When the leverage hits the point of a margin call that the banks cannot pay, they turn off the switch. They are trapping every single retail investor in a no-trade zone so they can reorganize the collateral behind the scenes. This is the financial warfare I've been talking about. They are bailing themselves out with your time and your liquidity. While your account says under maintenance, the physical metal is being shuffled into private vaults to settle the big players before the system goes completely dark. The industrial panic has reached a state of absolute hunger that is breaking the tech sector apart. John A.G. has primary sources inside the semiconductor industry reporting that 3 major electronics giants have halted their forward production lines this morning. They cannot find physical silver grain at any price. They are no longer checking the COMEX ticker. They are sending private agents into the scrap markets and offering $200 an ounce for raw silver just to keep their assembly lines moving. The green energy revolution is hitting a brick wall made of a physical deficit. You cannot build a solar panel or an electric vehicle battery with a paper promise. The industrial world is now in a direct bidding war with the monetary world for every gram of silver on Earth. The Mexico mining strike has just taken a turn toward nationalization as the government considers emergency measures to protect their strategic metal reserves. Mexico is the world's leading producer, and with production now completely offline for nearly 2 weeks, the global deficit has expanded by another 20 million ounces. John A.G. is tracking the lead times for wholesale silver, and they have vanished. We are entering a no-offer market. This means even if you have millions in cash, there is no one willing to sell you a 1,000-ounce bar. The miners understand their power. They are refusing to dig for a currency that is losing its value every second. They want a reset, and they want it backed by the very metal that the world's technology depends on. The 35 trillion debt wall is no longer a future risk. It is a collapsing structure that is crushing the middle class this morning. The interest payments on the U.S. national debt have now surpassed the entire tax revenue of several major Western nations. This is the definition of systemic bankruptcy. The Federal Reserve is trapped. If they print more money to save the banks, the dollar goes to zero. If they stop printing, the system collapses. John A.G. sees the choice they've made. They will sacrifice the public to save the institution. The bail-in is live. If your wealth is stored in a digital database, you are an unsecured creditor for a failing bank. If your wealth is physical silver in your hand, you are the master of your own destiny. Look at the gold-to-silver ratio as we head into the mid-morning session. It is undergoing a violent compression that is rewriting the history of precious metals. While gold is holding its own as the premier monetary asset, silver is exploding as the strategic industrial asset. John A.G. has warned that during every historical reset, silver outperforms gold 5-1. We are seeing the ratio drop from 85-1 toward 55-1 in a matter of days. If this ratio reverts to its historical mean of 15-1, you are looking at silver prices that the mainstream experts called impossible. The spring that has been coiled for 50 years by bank manipulation is now snapping back, and it is destroying every naked short position in the world. Every update I provide is based on the raw tape, and the tape today is telling us that the plumbing of the global financial system is broken. We are seeing record high fails to deliver FTDs in the silver ETFs. This means the people who think they own silver through a brokerage account are finding out they own nothing but a digital claim on an empty vault. John A.G. is telling you that the Wednesday blackout was a stress test for the total cyber polygon reset. In a world of digital lies, the physical bar is the only truth. If the internet flickers and the databases are recalculated, the only thing that remains is what you have in your physical possession. This is why the establishment hates silver. It is the ultimate privacy asset that they cannot control or delete. The face of shock in the thumbnails, that is the face of the banker who realizes his short position is 200 times larger than the physical metal he can deliver. John A.G. sees this panic in the order flow this morning. We are seeing panic covering in the shadow markets of Dubai and Singapore, where the bullion banks are desperately buying metal at any premium just to avoid a total exchange default in London. But the East is not selling. They are holding. They know that the Western system is insolvent, and they are waiting for the total reset. The hunter has become the prey, and the prey has no silver left to feed the monster they created. The system has officially snapped, and the midnight default is the signal. The central banks of the BRICS nations are currently finalizing the framework for a new commodity-backed settlement unit. This is the end game for the dollar-denominated silver market. When the world's major producers of energy and metals decide to trade in a unit backed by those very assets, the demand for the dollar drops to zero overnight. John A.G. is tracking the repo markets, and the collateral shortage is reaching a terminal point. They need the metal to back the new system, and they are taking it from the COMEX and the LBMA. We are watching a hostile takeover of the global financial system by the people who actually produce the wealth. The paper changers are being expelled from the temple, and they are leaving with empty hands. The no-hype philosophy is about looking at the primary sources and the mathematics of the drain. If you look at the Indian import data from this morning, the demand for physical silver has increased by 500% year over year. The small man in the East understands what the Western expert does not. That paper is a promise, but silver is a payment. John A.G. knows that the 8 billion people on this planet are all trying to fit through a door that is only wide enough for a few million. When the masses realize that the banks are insolvent, the rush into silver will be the greatest wealth transfer in 500 years. You are not buying silver. You are exchanging a failing currency for a permanent store of value that cannot be printed. Mexico's consideration of nationalization is the ultimate black swan for the Western paper markets. If the Mexican government stops all exports of silver concentrate to protect their own new economy, the COMEX will default within 24 hours. John A.G. is monitoring the diplomatic channels, and the tension is at an all-time high. The resource war has moved from oil to the strategic metals of the tech age. If you don't own the physical metal in a jurisdiction you trust, you are at the mercy of geopolitics. This is why, if you don't hold it, you don't own it, is the most important sentence in your financial education. The liquidity freeze is just the beginning of the exit being closed forever. The industrial hunger for silver in 2026 has reached a point where the military-industrial complex is now in a direct bidding war with the solar energy companies. Every high-tech missile, every satellite, and every advanced radar system requires silver for its conductivity. John A.G. has confirmed that the strategic national stockpile in several Western nations is functionally empty. They have cannibalized their own future to keep their current systems running. This means there is no backstop. There is no government rescue coming when the retail public finally realizes the banks are empty. When the registered vaults hit zero, the market will move to no offer. You won't be able to buy silver at 110 because no one will be selling it. The John A.G. logo stands for Financial Warfare Education because we are in a war for your future. The banks have the media, the politicians, and the printing presses. But we have the tape, we have the numbers, and most importantly, we have the physical. Today's midnight data is a total validation for everyone who ignored the hype and focused on the registered drain. We are on the right side of history, and the great wealth transfer is the event we are living through right now. The $35 trillion system is functionally dead. It just hasn't realized it yet because the digital screens are still pretending everything is normal. But the liquidity freeze proved that the illusion is fragile and the reset is inevitable. As the London market prepares to open for the morning session, the ask prices in the private networks have jumped another 12% in the last 4 hours. John AG is seeing silver bars being traded for gold bars at a ratio of 40-1 in the shadow markets of Singapore. The official price is a joke that only the uninformed still believe. The real price is being set by the people who have the metal in their possession. This is the market decoupling in its final stage. By the time the news tells you that silver is the new gold, there will be none left to buy. You are the early minority who saw the math, tracked the tape, and prepared for the midnight default. I want to highlight the psychological warfare being used against you today. The headlines are talking about market volatility and technical adjustments. This is a lie designed to keep you from pulling your money out of the failing banks. They want to trap you in the bail-in zone. John AG has seen this movie before. In every crisis, they tell the public that everything is fine right up until the moment they lock the doors. But the 2026 scenario is different because the physical shortage is so acute that they cannot hide it with paper anymore. The truth is leaking out through the premiums, through the delivery failures, and through the empty vaults. Don't be a victim of their digital illusions. The Wednesday blackout wasn't a glitch, it was a controlled freeze. They are preparing the world for a digital cage where they can control your wealth with the flip of a switch. John AG knows that silver is the ultimate freedom asset. You cannot turn off a silver bar. You cannot tax a transaction that happens in physical metal outside of their digital system. This is why they are so desperate to keep the price suppressed. They want you dependent on their digital lies. But the physical world is finally demanding its due. The producers are striking, the East is bidding, and the vaults are khali. The paper system is burning, and the fire is spreading to the very foundation of the banks. We are heading into a 24-hour window that will define the next decade of your life. The first notice day is approaching, and the bullion banks are staring into an abyss of default. John AG predicts that we will see force majeure declared on several major commodity exchanges before the weekend. This will effectively end the futures market and move the world back to a physical-only trade model. The paper trap is about to snap shut. If you are in the physical, you have a seat on the lifeboat. If you are in the paper, you are part of the ship. Stay sharp, watch the tape, and remember, the system has officially snapped. I'll leave you with this final thought for the morning update. The exit is closed. The vaults are empty. The bail-in is live. John AG will be back for the 7:30 a.m. tape update as the New York session opens to what will likely be a total market meltdown. We are living through history, and the data is the only light in the fog of war. Stay disciplined, watch the premiums, and keep your eye on the physical. All right, I'm out. 41.00s.